Welcome everyone. This session we will talk about GQI. This stands for Generic Query Interface. We'll see what it is exactly, what we can do with it, the different components, and we'll also see how we can use it within the dashboards and the local dApp framework. So let's go to the agenda. So we'll first look at what GQI is, then what queries are exactly, because GQI, Generic Query Interface, it's based around queries. We'll do some exercises on those queries. We'll also see how we can apply them then within dashboards, local dApps. And next to that, we'll also see how we can extend GQI, because there's a ton of possibilities to do more than the standard feature set that we deliver with GQI. So we'll see what we can do there, and then we'll also try to do some exercises on that later on. So what is GQI? It's not magic. Basically, GQI is a generic interface that you can use to interact with your data. So we saw that there was a lot of data within DataMiner. There's different ways to get that data, but in the end, we often want to have that data in the same format to be able to interact with it and to create some standard visualizations for it. So that's why we have created that unified way to get the data. And also, you will be able to transform the data in a pretty generic way. So that's always pretty nice if you want to work data and then later on visualize it. So we'll take a closer look at what these queries are, how we can create these queries, and when we can use them. You can see here that on the left-hand side on this slide, there's an example of a SQL query, and actually the GQI interface that we will be using, or the way you create queries, is pretty similar to SQL, because we always start from a data source. And after that, we're going to apply some operators. So if you have a query within a dashboard, you will always have one or more operators, or none if you want the entire data set. The nice thing is that within the UI, all of this will be built up in a conversational way. What does this mean? It's that the dashboards application, or that GQI component, actually knows what you are doing with your data, and it's intelligent enough to also give you some suggestions to propose the correct data formats, for example. So depending on what you're doing with your query, it will be smart enough to suggest your next operation. An example for this is if you would do filtering, for example. You can do filtering on strings, you can do filtering on numbers, but if you're using strings, it will automatically tell you to look for equals, it will look for contains, starts with, end with, and so on. If you're working with numbers, on the other hand, a contain is not really that useful, so it will tell you to look for greater than, smaller than, greater than or equals, etc., etc. So based on the data that you're using, based on the steps that you're taking, the GQI components will give you some smart suggestions along the way. Note that every query that you will create is always stored within your dashboard or within your local app. So every time that you create a query, that entire query JSON will be put on that dashboard. That's nice, because that means that if you want to export that dashboard or the local app to another system, the query will be embedded, so you'll have no problem and all of your data will be there. The only thing to keep in mind is that you don't have a shared pool of queries. So you're not able to create a query in one dashboard and then you go to another dashboard and then you say, okay, now take from the entire pool of queries that I have the previously created query. That's not how it works. However, you can import a query from another dashboard, but that will create a local copy again within that dashboard. So any edits that you do on the original query will not be reflected later on. So that's just important to keep in mind. Now, if you want to have data, we need a source for all of this data. There's two obvious sources, of course. We have things from within DataMiner, and then we also have external data. Basically, with GQI, you can query every data type that you have within DataMiner. It can be alarms, you can have elements, bookings, parameter services, etc., etc. You can also have all of the AI suggested events that you can take in as input, so as a data source. So there's quite a big range of data sources available within DataMiner. Now, of course, we know that next to that, people sometimes want data that is not already present within their DataMiner system. So you can also, of course, integrate with API endpoints. You can just get data from a file if you have a big CSV file or in JSON format and you want to import all of that data to use it in a dashboard. You can also do that if you want to connect to a database. So everything is possible. So we have data sources within DataMiner. We also have the external ones, and you can connect to both depending on what your use case is. So we have our data. We have a data source. Next to that, or after that, we also want to have some ways to handle the data, manipulate the data. You want to do some selection, you want to do some filtering, etc., etc. And for that, we have the operators. So there's a bunch of operators that come in baked in with DataMiner, so we can aggregate. You can do a count, you can find the max, you can find the minimum value of a column. You can do column manipulation, so you can combine multiple columns into one. You can even do some regex matching if you want to create a whole new column based on values of previous columns. You can do some filtering, so you can do that on any column. You can do joins. If you would have multiple data sets, you want to combine that information into one result, then you can do joins on them. You can select columns, so if you don't want to have all of the columns, you can clean up your data set, you can do sorting, and you can also choose to have the topics operator, so that's just to take the top 10, for example, items that are present within your data sets. And again, it's conversational, so I've explained it previously already, but here you can see it on the slides. So it will look at the current query, it will look at where you are within that query, what columns you have available, for example, it will look what data type is selected. So you can see that my previous example here from the text and the numeric is explained again. So based on the data type of the column, it will present you with different ways to filter on that data. So let's have a quick look now at the DataMiner system. So currently I have a pretty clean blank DataMiner system. If you go to the dashboards application, so you can always find that from your DataMiner homepage, of course. And then you can click Start Editing. Now you can see here on the data pane on the right-hand side that we have an overview of queries. So let me make sure that you guys can see this. So here on the right-hand side, I already have a few queries that are created, but let me just quickly show you what you can do. So if you already have queries, you can open them up, and then you will see all of the different columns that you have present within that data set. Of course, if you have a query, you can always edit it, and by clicking that editing button again, you will save your query. You can reorder them also if you want, and you can drag them on your dashboard, after which you can pick a visualization. For example, let's take a table. And then here, with this example, you can see it's listing all of the elements within my DataMiner system. At the moment, there are not much elements in here. There's only a Microsoft Platform element that's monitoring the server. But this is quickly how you can have a query. You can edit it. If you want to create a new query, you can click the plus button here at the bottom right-hand side. You can give it a name. So let's say this is my test query. And then you have to select the data source, of course. So you can see here that a lot of the data sources are already listed from within DataMiner. So you can see all of your resources. You can get trend data. There's even DCF in here. You can get your elements. That's the example that we had. You can get some ad hoc data. So that's something we'll do in a second. You can get your alarms and so on and so on. So we could, for example, get our do we have something here? For example, let's just show the get elements again. Then after this, you could do some filtering. You could aggregate. You can click on join. For example, so if you select filter, then you need to take in the column also that you want to see. Here you can see that there's a whole lot of information available, but not everything is shown. So let's say that I would like to have more columns. You can also go to the select. Then here you can see all of the columns that are available, and all of these that are checked will be shown as the result of your query. Now, if you want to have more information, of course, you can click that over here. And let me maybe quickly show what this will look like on the dashboard. So let's again take that table visualization as such. And if I go to edit that query again, let's go to the select operator. So if you want to edit one of the operators, you can just click on it. It will open up, and then you can see if I unselect the element ID, it automatically updates also all of my visualizations that are using that data source or that GQI query. You can also reorder them. So if you just drag and drop it here on the left-hand side, then you can see also that the name, the element ID, everything is changing in that visualization. Okay, so let's save this query. So this gives us options to create a query. We can edit them. We've seen a few of the operators. The next thing that we can do, just to quickly show that off, is import the query from a different dashboard. So the way to do that is to, again, go to the Start Editing. Then here you can go to Queries. And instead of clicking on Create New, we can just say Import. If you import a query, you first need to tell from which dashboard you want to import that query. So let's go to Demo. And then you can say which query you want to import. You can change the name and you can import it here. Now, let's quickly put this on our dashboard. And then we can visualize it again. And here you can see that it's exactly the same query. Okay, so that's a way to really easy get an overview of your queries, how you can import them, how you can create them, and you also see how you can edit them. So let's go back to the presentation. Now that we have an idea of how we can work with the queries, let's do an exercise. So this will be something that you can also follow. The prerequisites for this are pretty simple. You just need to have a DataMiner agent, which you can easily create on dataminer.services. Then you can go to the catalog and you can install the GQI fundamentals and extensions tutorial package. So let me quickly go to the catalog, GQI, and I forgot the name, fundamentals and extensions. So fundamentals and extensions tutorial. So let's select this one. Then we click deploy. And I will select the correct system and deploy this on my agents. So we'll give it a second to deploy. We can see it's successful. The way you can check if the installation was successful is if you go back to the overview of all of your dashboards, you will see that you have a new folder called Power. Under that, we have the GQI folder, and here you will see that we have two different sets of exercises. So we have the fundamentals exercises, but we can see that we also have some extensions. Now, let's go to the fundamentals and the exercises, and let's have a look at the first exercise. If you would be stuck, by the way, with any exercise, you can always go to the solutions, just start editing, and then, of course, on the queries, you can take a look here. You can just edit it, and then you will see the correct solution to the problem. You can do that for all of the different exercises. But for now, we'll just stick to the exercises themselves and see what we need to do. So, first exercise is on the select operator. And maybe before we begin, it would be interesting to see what data we will be working with. So there will be a few ad hoc data sources that we will use. These are pre-installed just because of the deployment of the package. And you'll see that we will have an orders data source. This contains an ID, start time, end time. There's also a state for that, so it can be new, completed, approved. There's also a package ID, a customer ID. We'll come back to that later. We have the server location. Is it a last minute order or not? And also if there's a discount that has been applied on that order. Next to that, we have two other data sources, pretty small ones. So we have one for the packages, and we also have one for the organizations, where you can see that we can link the ID of an organization with the customer ID, and also the package ID will come back from the packages data source to the orders data source. But that's something for later on. So let's now go back to our dashboards page and look at the first exercise. So we want to do an exercise on the select operator. and the assignment is to use that operator, remove some of the columns, and also reorder the columns accordingly. So let's start editing. Go to queries and edit the my order query. And here we can just take the select operator, and then you can see that we can remove or add some of the columns again. So we want to remove the ID, the package ID, the customer ID, and then also the discount. So that's it for the first part. But we still have something else to do. We also want to reorder the columns so that the most important columns are at the left-hand side, so we get a quick overview of our data. It's also easy to do. So to do that, we can just take the state, put that at the top, like this. Then we can take server location, like this. After that, we want to know if it's a last minute order or not. And then we want the start time and the end time. All right, so that's it. So let's take a quick look at what we have as data. So we have the state, server location, last minute, start and end time. And if you want to double check that it's correct, you can just come here and we can see that we pretty much have the same result as the solution. So that's already a great start. Let's go to the second exercise. So here we'll try to use the filter operator because we have a big data set, but we want to narrow it down and we want to filter to have the essential data that we need to get us an overview of that data. So we want all of the orders that have a discount greater than or equals to 10. All of them need to be in the new state, and we also want the orders that are last minute. So anything that's not new, not last minute, and doesn't have a discount greater than 10 needs to be filtered out. So again, let's start editing over here. Go to our queries and edit our query. So let's start with the first thing. We want to filter on the discount column, and everything that is greater than or equals to 10 needs to be selected. And we can indeed see that over here, all of the discounts now are greater than or equal to 10. Let's go back up and see what we need to do. So the second thing is that we want to see everything that's in a new state. So again, let's do the filter operator and take a different column now. So now we will take the last minute column. And after that, we will, we can do the last minute first. So everything that is last minute needs to be filtered. And then we can also add another filtering for the state. And that should be somewhere over here. Yes, that's it. So we want to filter everything that is equal to new. So this is a simple text filter. And we can see that we have the new items. Indeed, it is last minute and it is a discount. So that's it for the second one. Now we're going to have a look at the aggregate operator. Now the aggregate operator will allow you to do some manipulations on the values that you have within a certain column. So you can do a min, you can do a max, you can also count them based on a certain column, etc., etc. So it will summarize basically all of your data and it will give you a dialed down view of it. So let's have a look. The first thing, pretty simple, we want to aggregate the orders so that we have the total order count. So let's start editing again. Let's go back to the queries. And here at the my orders query, let's edit it. Pick the aggregate operator. And now we can just take the ID column because every order will have a unique ID. So if we count on ID, we know that we have the total order count. So let's take ID as a column. And now we can select the method. So we can do a count. We can do a count distinct. Let's take the count because we know that everything will be a distinct ID already. And here we have the total count of our orders, which will be 100. Let's kick it up a notch. And after the ordering, we also want to do some grouping on the data. So if you have the total order count, you might want to group them. For example, on server location, you might want to group your orders, for example, on state to see how many orders are still pending, how many are in new state, how many are completed, etc., etc. So let's edit this. go back to the queries, edit our query, and we'll start by aggregating the ID again to get the count. And now that we have that, we want to do another selection because we want to aggregate again. But now we'll take the discount and we will take the maximum discount. And once we have this, we'll add a group by operator and we will group by state. And now you can clearly see that we have an overview of all the different states. We have a view of how many orders were in that state, and we can also see what the max discount was for that particular state or for all of the orders that are in that particular state. So that's just an exercise to show that you can indeed use the aggregation, but you can also use the group by to get a better overview, because if you're just aggregating to one number, it doesn't tell you a whole lot about your data source. Let's continue and let's go into sorting. So pretty simple exercise here. We have a data set, but we want to sort on different columns. That's easy to do. Just go back here to the queries, my orders, and then do sort by. So the first thing that we want to sort on is the server location. After that, we want to sort on discount. So let's take then sort by on discount. And after that, we want to sort on start. Now, I might have forgotten to select the ascending, but that's not a problem because I can edit all of the steps in my query. And here you can see, so we have the server location, so everything from Australia will come first, etc., etc. And also the discounts will count up, so that's good. And we can also see that the earliest start date is at the top. So that's the overview that we wanted from our data. Let's see how we can use the top X operator. So the top X operator will allow you to sort, but it will also allow you to just limit the data set that is being returned. So if you only want to have a quick overview on your top orders with the biggest discounts, for example, this is something that you could use, and you could then say, okay, limit them to 10, for example, give me the 10 top orders with the biggest discounts. Now, what we're going to do here is just get the 10 earliest orders. So let's go to the query. And instead of sorting, let's go for the top X operator. We want the start time. And we want to limit it to the 10 first orders. Don't forget to select the ascending, because otherwise you will have the 10 most recent orders. And here you can see that they are sorted again, and we have the 10 earliest orders. So that's it for the top X operator. Of course, you can also use this on the discount, for example, if you would like to. Basically, any numeric or even on the string values, this is possible. So let's do some column manipulations. I've told you before, you have the possibility to take your columns, take different values from them. You can combine them. You can also do some regex matching. The first exercise is just simple column manipulation. So we want to combine multiple values, so of our different columns, into one new overview column. And what do we want to do? We want a column that contains the state. Then we want to have the server location next to it, but between brackets. And then after a hyphen, we want to see the discount that was applied on that order. So let's go into the query again. Let's edit this and take the column manipulation operator. There's two options, so we can concatenate and we can do a regex match. For this one, we will just do concatenate, and we will select which columns that we want. So we need the state one. We also need the server location. And after that, we'll select the discount. And you can also already see here in the format that it gives you an example on how you need to format your new column, the values for your new column. So we're going to start at index 0. And that's always going to be the one at the top. So the state at the moment is index 0. And if you put curly braces like this, then you put a 0 in there, and we can give it a new name. Let's call it overview. You will see that the dataset updates, and it shows us the state of that order. Of course, just having the state is not really valuable, so let's add some more information. And instead of using index 0, we're going to use index 1 now. So we can see that now we have the state. Next to that, within the braces, we have the, within the brackets, we have the server location. All right, and let's finish this off by adding the discount. And now we have the full overview. So we have an overview column with state, server location, and the discount that was applied on that order. So that's it for the concatenation. Now, next to this, we can also do some regex matching. So let's go to the column manipulation again. Take our query. And what do we want to do here? We want to take the server location. So you can see that these are always the continents of that specific server. But we want to limit it to the first 2 letters. Let's go in the query. Let's edit it. Let's do another column manipulation. But instead of taking concatenate, let's do regex match. And we can select the server location column. Let's call it shorthand location. And for the regex, of course, it's pretty helpful that we already get the hint. So let's type this like this. And then let's tell the regex that we want to select the first 2 characters of that column. So, and now we can see that we have a location for the server, but we also have a shorthand location consisting of the first 2 characters of that server location. All right, let's get into the good stuff now. It's always nice to be able to edit one data source, but sometimes you might have different data sources that you want to combine into one because they each hold information. But yeah, you have separate data sources and you want to do some combining of that data. Just to jog our memory again, we have 3 different data sets, and now we're going to use all 3 of them and do some joins. So we have the orders, we have the packages, and we have the organizations. And it's important to remember that the package ID and the ID in the packages data source will match, and the customer ID will match with the ID in the organization's data source. So let's see what we need to do for the first one. The assignment is to extend our order information. So we have the order information, it has a package ID, but the ID doesn't tell us a whole lot about what that package is. We don't have the name, we don't know any specifics on that package. So we want to extend the orders dataset with the information that we have in the packages dataset. So let's quickly do that by starting the edit. Let's go to queries again, edit that query, and then we will want to join. There are different ways of joining. You can do an inner join, so that would say that you match on rows that have that are present in the both data sets. You can also choose to only keep items that exist on the left and then match the ones from the right. You can also do an outer join. So there's different ways of joining your data, but we are going to go for an inner join. And after that, you need to select your second data source, which can again be anything. So you can also just select alarms, for example, if you would have those and you want to match it on some other data. But we're going to stick to ad hoc data sources. And here we have our orders, and we want to match it with the packages. So let's take the packages data source, and then we need to select the different IDs or the different columns on which it needs to match. All right, so I've told you before that in the orders data source, we have a package ID. In the packages data source, we have an ID column, and we know that these two match. Okay, so if you have a package ID, you will find a matching record in the packages data source with the same ID, and we can match the information that way. So let's take the package ID from our orders. Let's then take the ID from our packages, and we can see now that we still have the package ID, but we also have some information on the name of the package, the version, we can also see the price per hour, etc., etc. So this allows us to extend one data source with information from other data sources. So let's stop editing here and go to the second exercise. And now we'll try to get the information in one table, then do some filtering and make sure that we have all of the relevant information. So again, we're going to start from the order. We're going to get information on the packages. And after that, we also want to include the customer information. So we're going to do a second join, and then we're also going to clean up all of the information that we have. So let's go to queries. We have the my orders. And here we're going to join. Let's first do the inner join again on the packages. So let's go here. Again, select the package ID on the left-hand side and then the ID of the packages on the right-hand side. And we're going to do another join, another inner join, of course, from ad hoc data. So we're going to use an ad hoc data source, but this time we are going to use the organization's data source. So let's select that. Let's go for the customer ID here because we want to match the customer ID from the orders with the ID in the organization's data source. And let's see what we have here. So you can see that there's a lot of data present now. We have a lot of rows in our data source. Let me zoom out a bit, but you can see that we have another ID. We have all of the information on the data sources that we already had. And normally, but I'm not able to scroll. Let me see if I can just do a select operator. Let's reset my screen. Here, we can also see that we have the name of our customer. And you can see here that it's now next to the customer ID. Okay, so we have a lot of different columns. But all of these IDs are not useful anymore because we use the package ID to link to our packages that we have. We use the customer ID to link to all of the organizations that we have. So let's just remove the package ID, remove the customer ID, remove this ID, and then remove the duplicate ID. And here you have it. Now we have a nice overview of all of the orders. We now have the customer name. If you want, you could rename that column then. And we also have the information on the package. All right, let's stop editing. And let's do one of the advanced exercises. So these exercises will combine everything that we have seen in different exercises, and they will really require you to use a lot of different operators to get to the desired results. So we're going to count all of the enterprise orders, grouped per server location and per state, and then we want to sort them first on server location, and after that we want to sort them by state. So let's start editing again. Open up that query, edit the query, and we want to count all enterprise orders. Now, if we have a look, at the moment, there's not really a way for us to know what the enterprise orders are, but we know that we have that packages data source where we can have an overview and where the name of the data of the package is included. So let's start with the join. We'll join on an ad hoc data source, and we will take the packages data source. Let's take package ID and ID over here. All right. So now we do have the information of our data source. We can filter on the name of our data source, and we will need to do a contains, because let me quickly show you the data over here. But you can see that our data source contains the name, and we have some Prestige, Light, Prestige Enterprise, Prestige Pro, and we want all of the rows where the names contains enterprise. Okay, so that's why we're going to do that filtering. Let's go back to the editing for the query. So we've done the join. Now let's do the filtering on the name column. And let's select the contains. And here we will enter the enterprise, for example. And then we'll already see that our data source is being filtered down. Let me quickly maybe add a select operator. Maybe remove the package ID from here and drag up the name so we can see the name of the package. So here you can see that we only have items with the Prestige Enterprise package name. So that's already good. Let's go up again. And now we want to group them per server location and per state. So before you can do the grouping, we of course need to do the counting. You can maybe keep that select operator in there, but let's do an aggregation. We're going to count on ID. Up. And let's select the count. So now we have the total count, but that's not really what we want. We want to group it, so we can now do the group by on server location. So let's take server location. And next to that, we also want to group by state. And here we have it. So now we can see that we have all the server locations. Every server location will have all of the different states, and we can see how many orders are in that state for the given location. Good, and now we want to change the order, so we can do a sort by, and the first thing we want to sort on is the server location. Let's do that in an ascending way, and then also do a sort by state, and maybe also ascending. And that's it. So now we have a full overview of all of the data. We know how many orders are in a certain state for that server location. So let's stop the editing here. And if we go back to the exercises, we can see here that we have another advanced exercise. I'm not going to do this one. I'll leave you guys to do this on your own. Remember, if you're stuck, you can always go to the solutions and you can see how the query is built up. So this one will be to get an overview again of our software packages. So we want to see the maximum discount for each package and each server locations, but all the rejected orders should be left out. We also want the top 5 results of that. Then sort them also by median discount. So this will be another aggregation that you will need to do. And then in the final list, we also want to have that extra information on the package name, server location, median discount. So if you want the package name, that already gives you an indication that you will need to do a join again on that packages dataset that we have. And then we want to have some prettier columns because we want to filter out the prestige prefix that's added to all of the package names. And we also want to include some information on the version number. There's already a hint in there if you would like to get that version number out of there. I'll leave you guys to do this on your own. Note that you can complete this exercise. If you do so, please upload it. If you're watching this on Dojo, then the box should be just underneath this video. If you're watching on YouTube, in the description there will be an URL linking to Dojo, so that's our community website. And then you can enter the solution of that exercise there. Just take a screenshot, show us that you've completed the exercise, and you will be awarded some DevOps points for that. Now, we've seen a whole lot on GQI, how it works, the different operators, how you can create queries, how you can edit them, even how you can use them on your dashboard. But there's also some ways to extend the possibilities that we have with GQI. Now, why would you want to extend GQI? There's 2 things. First of all, there's a limited amount of data sources that we are supporting at the moment. So I'm sure that everyone can come up with 10 different ways that they want other data to be integrated within their dashboard. You can have CSV files, databases, external APIs, and so on and so on. So to be able to do that, we have ad hoc data sources. This is not a session on how to create an ad hoc data source, but we'll show you some pre-created ones, and we'll show you how to integrate them within your queries. Next to this, there's also the operators. So we have a limited list of operators that we support. We have the join, aggregation, filtering, and sorting. But of course, you might want to change data types. You might want to filter out some data, do some complex calculations on your different columns, maybe enrich your data, etc., etc. So to be able to do all of that, it won't always be possible with the standard operators that we provide. But of course, you can create some custom operators to do that. You can use those within the GQI module, and then you will be able to apply them on your data sets. There's a lot of ways to do this. So both for the custom operators and the ad hoc data sources, you can create them yourselves. But luckily, we also have the option to reuse existing items that have been created that are already present on the catalog. And that's also what we're going to do right now. So to give you an example, what we will do now is take an internet user CSV file that's present on your DataMiner system, so deployed by the package that we installed previously, and we'll try to parse that CSV file to be able to work with the data and create some nice visualizations on there. So if we go back to our DataMiner system, we can see that next to the fundamentals, we also have some extensions on there. So if we take the first one, here you can see that we want to have a look at all of the internet users per country. So the first thing that we'll need to do is get our data from that data source. So we have our CSV file, but we need to parse it. Of course, we're not going to write that parsing ourselves right now. But what we can do is go to catalog and look for SLC GQI DS, which stands for GQI data source CSV. So let's quickly go to the catalog and look for CSV and GQI DS CSV. And you can see here that we have an ad hoc data source at the top. Again, we can deploy that to our system. Let's go to here. Let's deploy this. Give it a second. And let's see how we can use that now. So again, it's the same as previously. Go to queries. And then the first thing we need to do is to parse the CSV file and visualize it in the table on the left. So that's pretty easy. Let's edit the internet users query. You can see there's no data source yet. So let's say we want to take some ad hoc data. We will use the CSV file data source. And then after doing this, you can already see it auto-selected file because there is only one. So this is the internet users CSV file and is showing us the data on the left-hand side. So you can see we have a lot of rows for different countries, and each row basically will show you what the percentage of internet users and the absolute number of internet users was in that year for that country. So that's the first thing that we wanted to do. So let's look now on the second part of this exercise. So how can we create the query to have that top 10 countries with the highest number of internet users, right, in 2020? We want to visualize that in a bar chart on the right-hand side. So we want to leave the left-hand side for what it is, and then also show the percentage of internet users for each country. So let's first create our query or start editing our query again. Then here we can see that we need to select a data source. Now, instead of getting ad hoc data again, parsing the same CSV file, we will go down and we will start from our earlier query that we have created. And now here we will need to look to be able to take the top 10 of the highest number of internet users. Now, there's still one problem with this data set. If I would do a filtering on the number of internet users, here you can see that it's actually treating this as a string. So all of the columns at the moment are being treated as string values. But of course, if we want to have the highest number and we want to do a top x, etc., we want to parse that to an integer. Or if we look at the percentage, for example, we also want to parse that to a double. So let's remove this filter here. And instead of that, let's apply a custom operator. So the operator that we want to install will be the SLC GQI parse number, GQI-IO because it's GQI-O because it's an operator parse number. You can deploy that to your system. And if you have done that successfully, you will be able to see the parse number operator in here. Now, it requires two inputs. The first one will be the text column that you want to convert. So let's take the internet users and convert that to an integer. While we are here, let's do the same already for the custom, for the percentage. So let's take internet users percentage and let's convert that to a double. If we take a quick look, we can see here that we now get two new columns, the internet users parsed and the internet users in percentage parsed. So that's what we want. Let's continue. So we will continue to edit the query. What we need to do now is select all of the rows where the year equals 2020, but that's going to be a filter and not a select. Let's take the year. Filter method equals, we want everything that equals the year 2020. Here you can see already that we have now one row or one record for each country within that year. And now all we need to do is do that top X and also make sure that we have the correct columns displayed. So let's first do the top X on our internet users parsed. Let's do 10, for example. Let's do them ascending. And after that, we also want to do a select maybe. And we want to leave, let's leave everything as is for now. So let's quickly take a look now at our data set. We have the information here. The number of internet users parsed. So let me invert this. I think I might have made a small mistake. Let's see. How did I configure the top X operator? I have the bottom. So let's do it like this. That looks a bit better. So now it's going to give me the top X, so the top 10 amount of countries. The last thing that we need to do is change the visualization now because we want to have a bar chart. So let's go here over our component on the dashboard and then you can click visualizations and here on the top we have a column and bar chart. Now at the moment we want to tweak some settings, so let's go to layout. And let's say that we want them to be bottom to top, for example, but we also want them to be absolute. And I have no idea why this is not showing correctly. Quick refresh of the page does it. So they are bottom to top, and they are being displayed as absolute values right now. So we can see here on the overview that we have all of the different countries. So we have China first, then we have India, then we have the US, showing all of the internet users, of course, that were parsed for that country. So this was the first exercise on extensions. Feel free to do the other exercises on your own. I'm going to round up the session here because it's been long enough, and I think all of you will understand now already how GQI works. If you would have any questions or you don't know how to continue with the exercises, feel free to ask us on Dojo. You can see here that this is some explanation still for the last exercise. Feel free to contact us, reach out to us if you're stuck with something. I hope you enjoyed the session and see you in the next one.